Hi guys, hope everyone's well and welcome back to another educational video, this one on how to make calorie tracking frictionless. So a lot of people, when it comes to their nutrition, they can tend to kind of fall off fat calorie tracking, they nail a week, things move well, and then maybe something happens in life, they're busy, they have a day, they fall off, and then they stop tracking for the subsequent week. So this video is going to go over how to make calorie tracking frictionless. A big part with any habit formation is making it easy to stick to. So if we can make your calorie tracking easy to stick to through putting the practices that are outlined in this video in place, your ability to adhere to your calories and then reach your fat loss related goals is going to be far greater, or your muscle building related goals, of course. This doesn't just relate and is useful for people who are trying to lose weight. So basically, a big part of like calorie tracking is not like being perfect, but trying to have it consistent enough. And when it comes to calorie tracking, what I recommend you do is put routine and systems in place. So we don't want to just like wake up and completely wing our nutrition. We want to have good structure. So the clients of mine who don't have a meal plan, some clients will just fire on the meal plan because it suits them better. But the clients who are successful when it comes to calorie tracking, they don't just eat different foods every single day. They've still got a routine. They almost create their own meal plan and they just eat very similar on a daily basis. So successfully close in that sense. And that doesn't mean your diet needs to be boring. It just means repetition can be key sometimes, because the more moving parts there are, like a car, the more parts on a car, the more things that can go wrong, right? The more things that can break. So if we can remove decision fatigue, if we can remove the friction, it's going to make it a lot easier to adhere to, make it more convenient to carry out, and basically automate the process. So because we want to make it so that when we're busy, when we're stressed, when we've got life commitments, work commitments, family commitments, we can still nail our diet, and that can be done by just putting it on autopilot, so we're not having to mentally think, stress over our nutrition while we've got other things to stress over. So something massive to do is tracking all at once. So don't just go for your day and just track, because if you're going for your day tracking and then logging it in MyFitnessPal, you're just recording your mistakes. You're just recording what you've done wrong throughout the day, and you're just maybe, because that's how people struggle to hit their protein or stay within their calories, because they just log as they go, they get to dinner and then they've got 200 calories and 50 grams of protein, which if you know anything about the maths, there's 4 calories in a gram of protein. You're basically either going to go over your calories or not reach your goal and go to bed hungry. So track all at once. So track the night before or track in the morning. Tracking sporadically throughout the day is inconvenient, time consuming. Additionally, you'll be more likely to forget to track certain foods, maybe some snacks, oils, sauces, condiments, or things like that. Or maybe even some larger food groups that you just forget that you've had throughout the day if you're trying to track later on, or you're tracking as you go. It's not that convenient, and you want to be present if you're spending your time with family, or if you're working, you don't want to have to be getting out your phone to log your work break, things like that. Just log in the morning, the night before. It makes things so much easier. And with a meal plan, this is something that can be super beneficial. As I touched on earlier, a lot of the clients that are most successful have some sort of structure and meal plan in place. They don't just wing it. They don't just eat random foods daily. They've got a plan, because a plan creates structure, removes guesswork, and leads to more predictability with reaching your goals. It can mean more predictability as well with hunger management, as well as reaching your protein, calories, macros, and also it will mean you'll be more likely to have good digestion, because you know you're going to eat foods that are going to be appropriate for yourself and sit well for you. It's also going to be more efficient because you're not having to log foods on MyFitnessPal and think, oh, what do I want to eat for the day, sort of thing. It's already done for you. So it's good for time efficiency. So if you're someone that's busy and got quite a big schedule and a busy schedule, maybe follow like a meal plan approach. And it saves time because food's already decided, as I touched on, and you just need to log the food once and repeat it. So it might be a bit inconvenient, and it might take a while to obviously like log the meal plan initially and get the plan in place initially. But it's either you spend the time doing it beforehand, or you spend the time doing it elsewhere on a daily basis. So it's an investment in that sense. Yes, you're maybe needing to allocate maybe like an hour out your day, come up with a plan that you want to eat, come up with the structure you want to eat. But once it's done, and it will save you time in the long term. And like I said, it will mean a lot more predictability that calories and protein will be hit because all you need to do is therefore make and eat the food. And it doesn't mean like you can never deviate from this meal plan, but you just want to have the structure in place. Like for example, if you forget rice, don't think, oh, well, my diet's weird. You know what I mean? Have potato instead, but it gives you that base structure to work on. But then it's fine being adaptable if you need to. And something to watch out for if you are going to follow a meal plan approach is people generally think or can think they're either on plan or off plan. They forget a meal from the meal plan, or they don't have the ingredients for that, and then they just go totally off their diet, and then everything deviates. So just don't be mindful of not falling into those habits. Just because one meal's not perfect doesn't mean the rest needs to be skewed and fall off track elsewhere. And what to what to do in terms of making it sustainable is you might think, oh, I can't stick to eating the exact same meals every single day, which I appreciate, and that's completely fine and that's completely reasonable. So they don't need to feel restrictive. They don't need to be bland, boring, not enjoyable. So what you can do is if you like a bit of variation in your diet, create two meal options you rotate between with similar calories and protein. And what you can then do is sub out your two options. For example, your breakfast, you could have, let's say you have one when you're working, you have, let's say, a Greek yogurt based breakfast. Then on the days off work, you could make like an egg white omelette. So you could sub the two in, and then you can equate the calories, equate the protein, and then make sure you kind of have those two options available. And then what you can maybe do is your rest days, you could have one option. That's what I do. I have a training day diet and a non-training day diet. So basically, or when you're off work, you can opt for the omelette. When you're working, you can opt for the Greek yogurt because it's easier to take with you. So just create two variations of your meal plan that you can rotate between in terms of the meals. Additionally, something you can do to give you that bit of flexibility, but also good structure and routine, is keep one free meal per day where you have a bit more variation in your diet, and dinner is often a good place to do so. So what that could look like is having, let's say, four meals a day, having structure with the first three, two different options, and then dinner you can just have like a free meal sort of thing. So you can sub it out. You can make like low fat minced burgers. You could have a steak. You could have chicken and rice. You could have something with whey proteins sort of thing. So you could have like egg noodles of some sort with a protein source, tuna. So you can have one free meal per day. So you've got that bit of variation to help you have good adherence, but you've got structure elsewhere. We can also think about rotating things like our condiments, vegetables, and carbohydrate sources to avoid boredom. So things like rotating what hot sauces you use or low calorie sauces. Some good ones are, again, hot sauce can often be low calorie, and also like there's quite low calorie brown sauce, Gold Star brown sauce there is, and there's a lot of like low calorie variations of sources that you can sauces that you can buy online as well. But there are a few like easy low calorie ones you can get from the shops easy enough. And also your carbohydrate sources, so swap your rice for potato, things like that. And what you can do is just write down how much calories is in the rice and the potato in terms of how much grams, sorry. So for example, if you know 100 grams of rice is what you typically have, you can equate what the calories are in the potato. So work it out once, and you could, let's say, if you've got your meal plan written down, put 100 grams of rice in slash, and then how much weight of potato you need to get the same calories. And then again, it just makes things that bit more efficient. Same with vegetables, we can rotate them on a regular basis as well to keep enjoyment, and it will give you that structure that you can stay consistent with, but allow you to still have that bit of variation to help adherence. And because we don't want to just like eat randomly throughout the day if we're essentially winging it if so. And also something that helps massively with making tracking sustainable is utilize the app's features. So most tracking apps have wee shortcuts, wee features people forget to use. For example, you can copy a certain day. You can copy and paste meals. So if, for example, you've ate very similar to, let's say, yesterday, then instead of like having to put everything in from scratch, you can go to yesterday, copy a meal, paste it in the desired day in the desired meal, and do that for any other meals that you've had similar. Or and then if, let's say, you did have some differences, you can then just delete what you've changed, add what you've had instead. And we can also save meals. So if on what tracking app you use, you write in your meal, there's typically an option where you can save it. And then instead of having to put in, let's say, 5% mince, white rice, onions, peppers, maybe what sauce you use, and maybe, let's say, oil if you used oil. If you're trying to diet, generally it's not a bad idea limiting that. But then that can be an easy way to just make things more efficient because you can log it, save it, and then whenever you're having that meal, paste it in, nice and easy. It would probably save, oh yeah, it would save you a ton of time in doing so. And create different recipes and try and bulk cook, which I'll get to in a second, and also using the barcode scanning feature. There's some apps that you need to pay for it for. You can either try and use an app that's free, where you can use the barcode without paying for it, or alternatively, it might be worth paying for it. If it's a small fee, if it makes a difference between you sticking to your calories or not, it might be worth that investment. So use the app, use the app's features. We don't need to be writing our calories and our protein down by hand on a bit of paper. Like, make it as easy as you can for yourself. And also keep meals simple. The more ingredients, the more friction, the more you need to log, the more you need to adjust when it comes to tracking your nutrition. So more ingredients can increase the chance of under tracking or mistracking certain foods, which is something to be mindful for. It can also mean more time spent logging and weighing your food. Simple meals can be quicker and easier to prepare and organise throughout your day. And it doesn't mean it needs to be boring, it just means it's easier to execute consistently. So you make it as simple and convenient and efficient as possible. Because if you need to log 3 ingredients versus 7 ingredients, weigh out 3 foods versus 7 foods, it's going to save you a lot more time. And that doesn't again mean it needs to be poor in terms of enjoyability. A meal doesn't need to have 20 different ingredients in order to be enjoyable. If you're anything like me, when you look at like recipes online, you're like, oh, this looks good. You watch it and then they've fired in like 20 different recipes, and then I'm just like swiping off the video. I'm like, I cannot be bothered making that. So make it nice and efficient, simple, low ingredients to make it convenient. And also using easy to track foods can be beneficial as well, just to make life easy for you. Because again, our days can be busy. Sometimes it can be inconvenient weighing out a lot of foods. So that doesn't mean we need to have poor adherence. For example, what you can do is, if let's say you're super busy, there's always time. We can make time. For example, if you're in a rush, you don't have a lot of time to cook, you can whip open a can of tuna, whip open a wrap, fire some lettuce on it that you buy in a packet instead of like chopping it yourself, and you can literally make a meal in 2 minutes, less than that really. So use easy to track foods that you don't even really need to weigh, and avoid guesswork. So things like rice cakes, where it will tell you the calories in a rice cake on the packet. You can get packet rice as well, cans of tuna, whey protein, Greek yogurt, and wraps. So technically, you can still be very, very accurate with your tracking, and not even use a set of scales. Not that you'll want to do that. You'll want to use a set of scales at some point. You'll need to for flexibility, but it doesn't need to always be a case of needing to track and weigh every single food you eat. So you can stay adaptable when you're on the go and still be accurate with your nutrition if you need to go to the shops, etc., and you've not got food with you. And as for batch cooking, this is something that's massively beneficial. It's very time efficient, and so instead of like having to weigh foods every day, do the weighing once, do the cooking once, and then it makes the rest of the week easier. So what you could look to do is, instead of cooking every meal from scratch every day, just bulk cook at one time. So the time it takes to cook, let's say, 1 serving of chicken versus 6 servings of chicken isn't 6 times the time. It's less than that. So what you can look to do is set aside time to bulk cook, weigh out your food, and then just divide it evenly. Thanks very much for watching. The full video is available exclusively to my online coaching and personal training clients. If you're interested in any of the 2 services, feel free to inquire via messaging me on any of my social media platforms, or via the link in the description if applicable, depending on where you're watching this.